This one is tough. We're diving into the Apple River stabbing. It's July 30th, 2022.
Okay.
Picture a group of teenagers, carefree, tubing down the river on a perfect summer day.
Right.
And in the blink of an eye, that carefree float turns into a desperate fight for survival.
Yeah, what makes this case so disturbing is how quickly a scene of innocent summer fun transformed into absolute chaos. We've got 911 calls, body cam footage,
Oh, wow.
interrogation recordings, and even a bystander's video capturing the horror that unfolded.
It's,
Our goal today is to piece
Yeah.
together the truth of what happened on the Apple River that day.
there's a man named Nick. Seems average at first glance. But as we dig deeper, a troubled past emerges. His path tragically intersects with those teenagers, leaving one life lost and others forever scarred.
Right.
Let's start by setting the scene.
Okay.
The Apple River in Wisconsin. A popular spot for tubing.
Yeah.
People are relaxing, soaking up the sun. Then everything changes.
The first sign of trouble comes through a series of frantic 911 calls.
Oh, gosh.
Imagine the terror in the voices of these callers, desperately pleading for help as they witness their friends being stabbed.
Wow.
One caller describes a young man, his intestines spilling out. Another frantically reports seeing a girl stabbed right in front of her.
Oh, my.
It's chaos, pure chaos.
It's difficult to even listen to those calls.
Right.
But they reveal the sheer panic and desperation of those moments.
Yeah.
Bystanders immediately jump into action, becoming first responders in a scene that's quickly spiraling out of control.
Right.
Applying pressure to wounds, desperately trying to keep victims alive, and guiding first responders to the scene, which wasn't easy given the remote location.
Right, over 100 yards from road access.
Gosh.
And that delay, the struggle to get the victims to safety and medical attention, it undoubtedly impacted their chances of survival.
Yeah.
There's this one story about an officer who reached a critically injured young man named AJ. He held his hand, kept him talking, desperately trying to keep him conscious as they waited for the paramedics.
In the midst of all of this, a manhunt is underway for the suspect, Nick. Witnesses describe a man fitting his description fleeing the scene.
Right.
And eventually a crucial tip leads to his capture further up the river.
Okay.
What's striking is his demeanor upon arrest. Calm, almost detached. A stark contrast to the horrific scene he left behind.
That's what makes the interrogation recording so fascinating.
Right?
Nick is presented with the gravity of the situation, the accusations against him.
Yeah.
His response is a carefully constructed narrative of self-defense. He claims he can't remember key details, insists he was attacked,
Wow.
and acted only to protect himself.
But there's a twist, and it comes in the form of a bystander's video.
Ooh.
This footage completely unravels Nick's story, providing a horrifyingly clear view of what really happened on that riverbank.
That video is absolutely pivotal. It allows us to go beyond the chaos and confusion of the initial reports and the carefully crafted narrative of the suspect.
Yeah.
This is where we really get to the truth of what happened.
All right, so let's take a closer look at this video.
Okay.
In those initial frames, you see Nick approaching a group of teenagers.
Yeah.
He's visibly agitated.
Uh-huh.
And there's this moment where he subtly checks for his knife, a gesture that instantly contradicts his claim of being an innocent bystander.
And as he engages with the teenagers, the tension escalates. There's shouting, arguing, and it becomes clear that Nick is the aggressor.
Whoa.
He's the one instigating the confrontation.
It's heartbreaking because you can see in the video some of the teenagers are trying to de-escalate the situation,
Mm-hmm.
but Nick is determined to pick a fight.
Yeah.
And then it happens. The argument turns physical, and you see Nick lunge toward one of the teenagers, knife in hand.
It's a brutal attack, a series of swift, deliberate stabbings.
Uh,
The video captures the terror on the faces of the victims, the blood, the desperate scramble for safety.
Gosh.
It's a chilling, gut-wrenching piece of evidence.
It's difficult to watch, to know that these young people, out for a day of fun, were suddenly facing a life-or-death situation.
Right.
And as we continue to dissect the video, the utter fallacy of Nick's self-defense claims becomes painfully clear.
Yeah.
He wasn't cornered, he wasn't outnumbered, and he was absolutely the one who chose to escalate the situation from words to violence.
What's even more disturbing is that even after the stabbings you can see in the video, Nick doesn't show any remorse.
Wow.
He just walks away, leaving a scene of unimaginable suffering behind him.
The contrast between his calm demeanor in the interrogation and the cold-blooded violence displayed in the video is truly chilling.
Right.
It speaks to a level of premeditation,
Mm-hmm.
a callous disregard for human life that is difficult to comprehend.
And as we'll see, this contrast becomes a key point in the trial. The prosecution will use this video to dismantle Nick's claims and expose the calculated nature of his actions.
This deep dive is heavy.
Yeah.
I know. But it's important to face these difficult truths, to see the human cost of anger, of violence, and to seek justice for those whose lives were forever altered on that terrible day on the Apple River.
That video evidence is damning, but it's crucial to remember that behind that cold, hard footage are real people.
Right.
Real lives, forever altered by Nick's actions.
It's impossible to imagine the pain and grief endured by the victims and their families. We lost Isaac Schumann that day.
Yeah.
A young life full of promise cut tragically short.
Isaac's family forced to confront a parent's worst nightmare.
Yeah.
The void left by his absence is something no words can truly capture.
And we have to remember the survivors, those who carry the physical and emotional scars of that day.
Right.
AJ, who fought for his life
Yeah.
after being stabbed in the abdomen, spending a month in the hospital.
His testimony during the trial was incredibly powerful. He showed the jury his scar.
Oh, wow.
A stark reminder of the brutal reality of Nick's attack.
It's a testament to AJ's resilience that he was able to stand there and share his story. But the trauma is undeniable.
Right.
The fear, their nightmares, the long road to physical and emotional recovery.
Yeah.
And then there's Riley,
Right.
who also endured a vicious attack.
Riley's story highlights the unseen wounds,
Right.
the psychological impact of such a traumatic event.
Yeah.
The anxiety, the constant fear, the feeling that the world is no longer a safe place.
These are wounds that may never fully heal.
Right.
It's a reminder that the impact of violence extends far beyond the immediate physical harm, leaving deep psychological scars that can haunt victims for years to come.
And it's not just the victims themselves, their
Right.
families, their friends. The entire community is affected by the ripple effects of this tragedy.
It shatters the sense of safety,
Yeah.
the belief that something like this could never happen in their town, on their river.
Absolutely. This case forces us to confront the uncomfortable reality that violence can erupt anywhere, at any time,
Yeah.
shattering lives in an instant.
But amidst this darkness,
Right.
amidst the grief and the pain, there's also a glimmer of light.
Yeah.
The Schumann family, in the face of unimaginable loss, chose to channel their grief into something positive.
The Isaac Schumann Foundation,
Right.
established in his memory, is a testament to their strength and their commitment to turning tragedy into a force for good.
They're providing scholarships to motivated youth,
Oh, wow.
helping them pursue their dreams, keeping Isaac's memory alive in a way that honors his spirit.
It's a powerful reminder that even in the darkest of times, there is the potential for hope,
Right.
for healing, for creating something meaningful out of loss.
This case, with its shocking violence and its deeply personal stories,
Yeah.
also raises important questions about our legal system and the complexities of seeking justice.
The trial itself became a battleground of contrasting narratives.
Right.
The prosecution, armed with the video evidence, meticulously laid out their case,
Yeah.
highlighting the brutal reality of Nick's actions and dismantling his self-defense claims point by point.
They brought in expert witnesses,
Right?
medical professionals who testified to the severity of the victim's injuries, and forensic analysts who broke down the mechanics of the attack,
Yeah.
leaving no room for doubt about Nick's intent.
The defense, on the other hand, attempted to shift the focus,
Right.
to paint a picture of Nick as a victim of circumstance,
Yeah.
a man forced to defend himself against a group of unruly teenagers.
They pointed to the fact that there was underage drinking involved, trying to suggest that the teenagers were intoxicated
Right.
and potentially aggressive.
It was a risky strategy,
Yeah.
one that could easily backfire and alienate the jury, and in this case, it did.
The jury saw through the defense's attempts to deflect blame. They deliberated for 8 grueling days,
Oh, wow.
carefully weighing the evidence,
Right.
the testimonies, the conflicting narratives,
Yeah.
and in the end, they reached a verdict:
Guilty on all counts.
homicide, reckless endangerment battery.
Right.
Nick was held accountable for the full weight of his actions, the devastation he unleashed on that summer day.
The sentencing was heavy. 20 years in prison.
Yeah.
It can never bring back Isaac or erase the trauma endured by the survivors.
Right.
But it does offer a sense of justice.
Right.
A recognition that actions have consequences.
The verdict and sentencing sent a clear message. Violence has no place in our society, and those who choose to inflict harm on others will be held accountable.
Right.
This case, in its tragedy and its legal complexities, forces us to confront difficult questions about the nature of violence, the challenges of determining truth,
Yeah.
and the long road to healing for those who have been affected by such a senseless act.
It compels us to reflect on our own roles in preventing violence,
Right.
in promoting understanding,
Yeah.
and in creating a world where such tragedies become less frequent, less devastating.
This deep dive into the Apple River stabbings has been, well, emotionally draining, to say the least. It's
Yeah.
hard to shake the feeling of sadness, the weight of the loss, and the trauma that continues to ripple outward from that day.
It's a case that stays with you, that forces you to confront some unsettling truths about human nature.
Right.
Here's a man, Nick, outwardly appearing average, with a family, a job, no prior criminal record.
Right.
But beneath that surface, a darkness lurked, a capacity for violence that ultimately had devastating consequences.
It makes you question how well we can truly know anyone, even those closest to us.
Right.
Could there have been warning signs that were missed?
Yeah.
What leads someone down such a dark path?
It's a question without easy answers. There's often a complex interplay of factors: personal history, mental health,
Right.
substance abuse, situational triggers. It's rarely a single thing that leads someone to commit such a horrific act.
In this case, we saw how quickly anger escalated into violence, how a seemingly minor disagreement, fueled by alcohol and unchecked aggression,
Yeah.
led to the loss of a life and irreparable damage to so many others.
And that's where the conversation needs to shift. We need to move beyond simply reacting to these tragedies and focus on prevention.
Right.
How do we create a society where violence is not the answer?
Yeah.
How do we equip individuals with the tools to manage anger, resolve conflicts peacefully, and seek help when they need it?
It starts with open, honest conversations about mental health, about the warning signs of violence, and about the importance of seeking help. It's about fostering a culture of empathy and understanding
Right.
where people feel supported and empowered to address their struggles.
Then we need to create spaces where people feel safe talking about their anger, their frustrations, their fears. We need to teach conflict resolution skills,
Right.
promote healthy coping mechanisms,
Yeah.
and make mental health resources readily accessible.
It's also about holding each other accountable. When we see someone struggling,
Yeah.
when we witness behaviors that are concerning, we need to speak up, to reach out, to offer support. Silence can be deadly.
Absolutely. Early intervention is crucial. It's about recognizing the warning signs, intervening before a situation escalates,
Right.
and connecting individuals with the resources they need to get back on a healthy path.
This case serves as a painful reminder of the fragility of life,
Yeah.
the devastating consequences of violence, and the long road to healing for those left in its wake. But it can also be a catalyst for positive change.
We can choose to learn from this tragedy, to honor Isaac Schumann's memory by working to prevent future acts of violence. We can choose to build a society where empathy, understanding, and peace prevail.
Thank you for listening to Justice for the Souls podcast.